I could have easily continued to play the victim card. I took control of my life because I realized that nobody's gonna come and save me. My name is Anthony Zuniga, and this is my story. I was raised primarily by my grandparents. Didn't really have a relationship with my dad for a while, and not really so much with my mom. My grandparents are both Mexican. I believe they're both first generation here. They took care of everyone. All my siblings, their kids, they were just amazing people. My grandpa, he was this very stern, stoic man, very old school, like he's Old Testament. He always taught us, it's up to you. You have to work hard. You have to put in the effort. If I got in trouble at school, he'd wake me up bright and early on a Saturday morning, I'm pulling weeds. Or he'd put us to work. He'd make us do chores. He'd make sure that we understood that we messed up and that there will be consequences. But my grandma, she was always the homemaker for us. We would have front yard barbecues. We'd open up the garage, we'd clear off the pool table, and that's what really brought us together. Even though we were so scattered, living different lives and lifestyles, the second that we knew that the family was getting together for a birthday, we knew that Grandma's cooking. Even though she was a paraplegic, she only had half her body that was working, she would still cook every day. She would still clean every day. She would still take care of everybody. She was the glue. And it was a really good example to see because they taught me the value of family. They taught me the value of working hard to provide. I was default on the left because on my mom's side, I saw that they always wanted or needed welfare. They always wanted or needed food stamps. My dad was in and out of prison. He lived that gang life. He would just go on vacation. That's what they called it. And it wasn't until later down the road that we actually understood what that was. Our grandparents, they would make sure to kind of shelter us from that information. And I just really appreciate that about them because it kept that respect for him. It kept that love for my dad. He was always dad. He was the hero. I'm sure they weren't happy about what my dad was doing, but they never really attacked him for it or put him out for it. They just didn't really approve of that lifestyle, especially the example that he was setting. He told me about how he missed us while he was gone, how he always thought about us. He wishes he had a better relationship. He expressed to us that it's not a life that he would want us to live, which is why we shouldn't do what he did or follow that same path. So he did push me to go to school. He pushed me to do better, be better. I don't regret not following that same path that my dad and my brothers and my family all pursued. I never limited my opportunity. I never messed with my life or my time by being sent to jail or pursuing that gang life. My grandpa was a military veteran. I believe he served in the Korean conflict. When my grandpa passed away, they presented my grandma with the American flag. I think he was very proud to be American. So around the time that my grandpa passed away, that's when the world fell out. The glue that held our family together just kind of started to deteriorate. I didn't really feel like I had friends that understood that loss, that understood what we were going through. And so that was when I leaned a lot into my brothers. I leaned a lot into my dad, and I started to want to know what they were about because I wanted to belong. I was 20 years old when my dad got sick. Our relationship became so close. We talked a lot. He shared a lot with me. At that point, I quit school for a little bit. Somebody had to stay home with him to make sure that he can get to the restroom, he can get in and out of bed. He passed away the morning after his birthday, January 3rd. I remember hearing him call me and going into his room, he's like, "Mijo, I need you to call the ambulance." Right when they showed up, that we were about to transfer him to the stretcher. And it was right when I lifted him that I just felt his body go limp. After that, I just continued to work the bare minimum, but I kind of went down the party route, just drinking with family. And I was underage, so that's just how we coped with it. And we would sit there and we would drink, we would party, we would do whatever we could to numb that pain. And it was at that time when I was drawn into culinary. And I pursued that because growing up, my grandma, she needed help in the kitchen. And I remember asking my grandma, like, "Hey, how do you make everything so good?" And she's like, "Love." And I was like, "No, like, what's your recipe?" She's like, "You use a recipe?" The reason why I started cooking is because it's the best way to bring people together. I was working in the culinary industry for about 4 years, and I was working at a fine dining restaurant. And it was at that point that I looked at who I was hanging around with, and I looked at the cooks that were around me. I looked at the bars that they would go to, the drugs that they would do. I thought to myself, I don't want that life. So it just kind of snowballed into me just wanting to make a drastic change in life. I needed God, I needed faith. And so it was a good transition getting back into faith and pursuing that relationship with God. I met my wife through my sister because during college, they actually went to school together. They had a couple classes together and they became really good friends. I appreciate my wife so much because she was there through the thick of things when I wasn't the best person. She was there to help mold me to where I am now. And she's just an angel. Everything that she does for us, for our family, for me, it's above and beyond anything that I can expect from anybody. So my wife's parents, my father-in-law, he loves America. He is the biggest patriot. Him and all his brothers, they're proud Americans because they understand the opportunity that this country gave them. He came over here while Castro was in power, and they came over on the lottery system. They worked hard, and they're Cuban immigrants that made it. He would tell his kids when they would watch the news, don't listen to the propaganda. Not everything you see on the news is real. You need to do your own research. You need to stand for what you stand for. Don't believe everything. Oh man, the political discussions that I had with my father-in-law and his sons, it was very interesting. I was still in the left mindset, so every time they would talk about politics, it was something I was very uncomfortable with because they were on the wrong side. I never really understood why he was so patriotic, why he loved this country so much. I loved America, but at the time, I didn't feel like I appreciated it the same way that he did. My wife, she followed his footsteps politically, and she would watch Ben Shapiro, she would watch Candace Owens, like conservative media, and PragerU. It really started to get to me because a lot of the stuff that she would talk about made a lot of sense. I was always pro-life. I was always for personal responsibility. One of my favorite videos that I remember was Jocko Willink's Discipline Equals Freedom. PragerU helped me understand that on the right is where you take responsibility for your life, and on the left, where I was living, is blaming everybody for where I'm at. And so I made a drastic shift. I left the culinary world and I found a customer service job. I transitioned from just a salesman there into their marketing specialist, and it's opened up so much opportunity because I learned that. And now I'm in marketing here for PragerU. When I started watching the videos from PragerU, and especially when I started working here, it gave me a deeper appreciation for what the Stars and Stripes stand for how we were founded, and the fact that everybody can come here and pursue a life of greatness. It's happened with my wife's dad and his family. If you look at how many people come here to pursue the American dream, how many people come here illegally and legally, they come here for the same reason. How diverse it is, the opportunity that America has provided, and the fact that no matter what walk of life you come from, even if you're a Mexican, even if you're Cuban, you can be very successful here. I took control of my life because I realized that nobody's gonna come and save me. I couldn't just sit around and wait for someone to say, hey, here's an opportunity. I think the most powerful thing that you can do for your family is set a great example. And that's kind of what I had with my grandparents. It made me want to be at least half of who they were. Whatever you want in life, it takes intentionality. If you just gradually coast through life and accept what comes to you, you're not going to be where you want to be. And you're going to look back with regret. If I want tomorrow to be better, I have to get better today. I have to work on myself today. You're born looking like your parents, you die looking like your decisions. Own your story, own where you're at, own your decisions, set goals, and focus on where you want to be. Never let how you grew up or the stuff that you went through determine what your life looks like. You can change. Thank you for watching this video. To keep PragerU videos free, please consider making a tax-deductible donation.